This video has been such a long time coming. If you've been watching my videos this year, you may have seen my Captain's Vlog series that I launched in January about making an album with Rat from Ned's Atomic Dustbin. Rat and I were first put in touch in the spring of 2019 by our mutual friend Miles Hunt from the Wonder Stuff. Rat had this absolutely immense pile of guitar recordings, song ideas that he'd been coming up with for ages, and he was looking for someone to collaborate with on these ideas. Now, having been given the song Kill Your Television as part of a mixtape on cassette in around 1997, you can imagine my surprise and delight when I received the email from Miles asking if I'd be interested. Of course I said yes, and it's a really wonderful reminder of what your music can go and do out in the world when you hear from someone whose music you've respected for years and years, and they feel the same about you. That's something I just would never have expected. I've made a decent number of albums now. I've did 4 under the name She Makes War. I've done 1 so far under the name Penfriend. And then there's this one. And I have to say, this one has been the most difficult to bring to life of all of those. Earlier in the year, I shared my thoughts and feelings about this project with my correspondence club. And I thought it would be useful to share a bit of that here, because it's just so easy, isn't it, to see a finished product and have no idea of the pain, the difficulty, the challenges that went into making it. And that's fine. I don't necessarily want you to feel the pain that I felt making this record at times, but I share these things because things that matter aren't always easy to make happen. And even the simplest thing can sometimes be a big test of strength and fortitude. I've already mentioned in other videos that this year has not been easy for me in a number of different ways. And that's okay. I'm not whining. I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you because I think we live in a world where you can easily get the impression that everything's fine and dandy in everybody else's lives, and you know that your life isn't always like that, and that might make you feel rubbish. That's what it makes me feel like sometimes. I do think that the things that I have decided are worth doing in my life are worth fighting for, but sometimes I do feel like giving up. And I felt like giving up a number of times this year, but I'm really glad I haven't. I feel so proud of the album that Rat and I have made. Not just the songs and the production and the meaning of the lyrics and the powerful sound and the journey that we've created for you with the track listing and the artwork and everything around it. Of course I'm proud of all of those things, but I'm especially proud that we kept going. We finished it. I find it so much easier to start something new than to keep going with something that I've already decided to do. Albums can take such a long time, so many thousands of hours put into what ends up being a relatively short piece of work. All those layers of sounds, all that time figuring out the lyrics that mean the most, telling little stories, pulling them together into something that's bigger than the sum of its parts. And that's something that I'm relatively comfortable doing on my own. But when you start introducing other people into the mix, that's just a whole new thing. And there's something so beautiful about collaboration, I think, because these songs could never have existed if it wasn't for both Rat and I being involved in them. It's magical. But like I said, it hasn't been easy. In the latest issue of my Correspondence Club zine, I share a piece of writing from the 17th of May 2022 on this subject. I find myself at the part of the story where, when the character looks back later on, they can hopefully be proud of how they stood up, dusted themselves off, and kept going. As I write this, I've started taking the steps necessary to set off on the path toward potential triumph, or at least potential salvaging. 5 days ago, I wasn't feeling like there could be a salvaging, but I hope there is. The collaborative album I've been planning my entire year around is still not finished. Songwriting collaboration is something I've kept at arm's length for years, all the while knowing that it holds the potential for the most magical of all musical endeavours. The Beatles weren't John plus Paul plus George plus Ringo plus producer George Martin, they were the Beatles. The music they produced couldn't have been made by any other combination of those individuals, and that sound, created by those individuals combining their vast inner lives and experiences, became far greater than the sum of its parts. In collaboration, 1 + 1 does not equal 2. In my teens and 20s, I collaborated in bands as a bassist, guitarist and vocalist, and in electronic music settings as a melody and lyric writer for one-off projects and as part of a collective. I learned a lot. I had some great times and I had some rubbish times. So it goes. My first solo project, She Makes War, started out in 2004 as a 3-piece band, making a few plucky strides in that direction before everyone but me quit. I realised I'd get more done if I relied on myself rather than finding new bandmates, and I'm glad I did. 4 albums later, I was invited to write a record with someone whose guitar playing I'd been listening to since I was 16. The album Rat and I have made is one I could never have written alone. The themes, the lyrics, the melodies, and the arrangements I created around the inspiring guitar layers that Rat sent me over the course of writing it could only ever have been prompted by those guitar parts, at those times, in those frames of mind. What we've put together truly is bigger than the sum of its parts, and wouldn't work with any of those parts removed. We're both so proud and excited to share this music with you. So it pains me to say that 3 arduous months of mixing setbacks mean that today, the day I was meant to go to the studio with a list of final mix tweaks, 2 days before the album was booked to be mastered, 3 days before I was due to send all the files and the glorious finished artwork over to the vinyl manufacturing plant, and just a few weeks before the pre-order for the album was due to launch, I've spent sitting at home in the launchpad. The album isn't here with me. It doesn't exist yet. It's still just a shared idea, a neatly stored list of audio files, a bunch of reference points, a riffy dream. In 2 months, 6 months, a year's time, I hope to look back on this and see it for what it surely is, just a bump in the road. I've been sad about this, exhausted, angry, wrung out, fatalistic, a whole rainbow of feelings, punctuated by occasional internal reminders that untreated stress can quickly become physical, and gargantuan feeling attempts to do simple healthy things like go outside, look at trees, breathe deeply, focus on everything else that's going on in my life instead of this one thing that seems to be going so horribly wrong. Punching a sofa cushion once in a while has also helped, a little. As Rebecca Lucy Taylor, aka Self-Esteem, so wisely chuckled on my podcast in early 2021, it's just songs. I'm not a whatever will be person, but I learned a lot from reading 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman last year. Eigenzeit is the concept of inherent time, the amount of time a thing will take. From the very beginning of the Obey Robots collaboration, we've been dealing with roadblocks. Ill-fated tours, a pandemic, rocky mental health, family illness, pet illness and death, issues with guest musicians, more ill health, life. None of that stuff gets put on hold just because I want to put an album out in a particular month. It's just songs. All I can imagine is that for whatever reason, the Obey Robots album's Eigenzeit is far lengthier than I'd planned for. As with all my albums, it isn't simply a collection of all the songs we managed to finish, lined up in some semblance of order. It's a statement, a provocation, a conversation starter. It's a story. The story just isn't over yet. I wrote that on the 17th of May 2022, and today, on the 20th of September 2022, I'm delighted to tell you that the album is finished. Rat came here to visit on the weekend to listen through to the final track listing. We had a lovely time listening to our songs very loudly through the big speakers, and 2 weeks today we're launching the pre-order. My hugest thanks go to my husband Tim for his constant, unwavering support through all of this. To all the top studio dogs, Mr. Benji, Albie and Luna. And of course, every single member of my correspondence club, past and present, who have always got my back and are fundamental to the creation of new music and videos. Today, I would absolutely love it if you would sign up to my mailing list to receive early access to the Obey Robots pre-order in 2 weeks' time. You'll also receive 2 free Penfriend songs and some heartfelt stories sent to your inbox. If you haven't heard anything by Obey Robots yet, we did release this single in early 2021. The CDs have sold out, but we have around 30 copies left on pink 7-inch vinyl. I'll show you. These are the first 7-inch singles I've ever released, and they're so cute. Rat picked the colour, and I am so in love with the colour combo of baby pink and green. How great is that? Lovely. I'll put a link to these in the description box below, so if you'd like a copy, just click on that and I'll send one to you. Thank you for watching, thank you for your support, and I cannot wait to start sharing new music with you. See you soon.